customizable miniature robots that fight each other, a mess of a story, and a lackluster soundtrack. This is... My first experience with the Custom Robo franchise was on a Nintendo DS multi-cart. My brothers and I each got one, and we all loved Custom Robo on the DS. It's an awesome game. Years later, while at a flea market, I noticed a game vendor had Custom Robo on the GameCube. At that time, I didn't even know it existed, but I was excited to try it out, so obviously I picked it up. I got home, tested it out, and played it for a few days, and then I never went back to it. All these years later, I'm still not sure why it didn't hold my attention. Today, we're going to find out why. Welcome to Bradante's Game Room. I'm Braden, and today we're going to take a look at Custom Robo on the Nintendo GameCube. As I mentioned previously, I had this game when I was a kid and didn't make it very far. The purpose of this playthrough is to determine why it didn't hold my interest as a kid. Did I overlook it, or is it not as good as its DS counterpart? Let's get into it. Custom Robo starts with a conversation between you, the protagonist, and your father. Your father seems like a busy man who works a lot. Today is a special day though. It's your birthday. To celebrate, your father gives you a very special watch and he advises to never take it off. It's revealed that this is a flashback, and it turns out you are a young man living alone in an apartment, unemployed. You are not without ambition though. It turns out you receive a letter from your father telling you to become a Robo Commander. And with that, you're off on your first mission to find a job, because nobody can afford to live without one in this economy. The first place we visit is the Steel Hearts HQ, and that's steel as in the metal, not steel as in a robber. The Steel Hearts are a local bounty hunter team, and that's where the protagonist is trying to get a job. Here we meet Harry, your future co-worker, and Ernest, the leader of the Steel Hearts. Ernest is reluctant to hire the protagonist due to their lack of experience in robo fighting. Luckily, Ernest gets a call mid-interview for a job and sends you and Harry out to deal with it. It turns out some bad guys are causing an issue with the local Custom Robo lab. This is where your adventure with the Steel Hearts officially begins. On the first mission, you are introduced to the Custom Robo fighting that you are playing the game for. Through a series of unlikely circumstances, you take control of your first Custom Robo, which is Ray 1. You are tasked with fighting the burglars that are creating a scene at the lab. Before each fight, your teammate Harry provides you with tips, such as use this button to shoot or use this button for a melee attack. This makes sense because you've just started the game, but Harry does not stop giving you tips before fights for the entire rest of the game. As you can imagine, this becomes very problematic because he's telling you things you very well should know at later points in the game. Once you beat all the bad guys in this first mission, you go back to the Steel Hearts HQ. Due to your performance at the lab, Ernest offers you a job and sends you home for the night. The next day, you're introduced to your other teammate, who's named Marcia. She's a part of the Steel Hearts as well. I spent a lot of time introducing the characters and how the missions work for a reason. This is how the entire game is formatted. You go on a mission for the Steel Hearts, whether it be busting bad guys or attending tournaments, and beat everyone you see at Custom Robo battles. After each battle, you get a new part to customize your robo with. The parts aren't just given to you though. You have to access a parts generator in order to actually get the item. Thankfully, there's parts generators everywhere, but there's no reason why they couldn't have just given it to you after the fight. The part progression system is extremely linear. There is no money or upgrading system, so you don't have to buy the parts or upgrade them. You just get them after every fight. If you lose a fight, the game restarts you immediately before the battle. There is no manual save option. The game autosaves itself. I thought this was going to be a major issue, but it did save often enough that I was able to quit the game when I wanted to. It just didn't feel great to be relying on the game to save for me. Let's talk about the robos and the battles themselves. I consider the battles to be by far the best parts of the game, which is good because that's what a lot of people are playing the game for. As for actually customizing your robo, you can choose from different bodies, guns, bombs, pods, and legs. The different robo bodies each have a type. Some are better in the air, some are better on the ground, and some have unique abilities. The guns all shoot in different patterns. Some are better at long range, some are better at short range. Some shoot their projectiles to the right, so you can hide behind cover and have them almost curve around. They often have a counterpart that shoots left. Some guns also have a homing effect, and some even draw your opponents in when the projectile hits. When it comes to bombs, the biggest difference is the trajectory and direction that they shoot. For example, some might shoot over barriers, some might shoot directly straight, and some may shoot straight but split at the end and go on either sides of your opponent. Some guns and some bombs have different patterns depending on if you shoot them while grounded or shoot them while in the air. The pods work by deploying 1 to 3 projectiles that either chases the opponent or stays in place like a landmine. And finally the legs, they all have different abilities. Some allow you to jump higher, some allow you to run faster, and some have more unique abilities. I feel like you can use this customization system to set up great combos that flow really well together. Your goal is to use the customizations together to knock down your opponent's robo. Once they get hit for a certain amount of HP, it knocks them down. While they're down, you're able to hit them, but eventually they'll get back up, have a bit of invincibility, and then the fight resumes. When it came to my playthrough, there was a few customizations that really stood out. Very early on in the game, you get the flame gun, and I use that for the entire rest of the game, except for the final boss fight, which we'll talk a bit more about later. The bomb is what I changed the most. The ones I gravitated towards were the ones that shot in a straight line towards the opponent. Later on in the game, you'll get a freeze bomb that goes in a straight line, and that was by far my favorite. For a pod, I liked using the ones that you could deploy multiple projectiles with, because a lot of the time I found the computer players would just end up running into the projectiles. As for the legs, I got a pair that reduce vulnerability when you landed from a jump. I used these the entire game after I got them. And finally, the body of my custom robo was the Ray 1, the entire game from start to finish. When a battle starts, your robo is in a cube with different numbers on each side, kind of like a dice. You shoot this robo cube out of a cannon, and depending on what you roll, that's how long it's going to take your robo to jump out of its cube. By spamming the A button like you're playing Mario Party, you can get your robo out of its cube faster. The arenas the robos fight in are called Holosseums. There's quite a few of them throughout the campaign, but they don't change up the fight too much. The biggest difference is there's obstacles and walls to avoid, and plan your attacks around. Some Holosseums also have pits that, if you fall into, they'll knock down your robo instantly. When it came to the computer players, their robos were quite varied, and they weren't too bad. I only lost about 4 fights the entire game. One of them was because I accidentally had the wrong stuff equipped to my robo. There are also double battles, which is yourself, a teammate, versus 2 enemies on the same Holosseum. I lost one of those because the computers only attacked me and not my partner. In all honesty, I did enjoy the fights, and that's probably the only reason I was able to see the game to the end. Okay, it's time. We need to talk about Harry. As mentioned before, Harry is your teammate, your co-worker, and your partner in crime. Harry loves to flirt with every single woman he comes across, which does lead to some funny moments. The joke is he gets rejected pretty much every time, except for one. He does manage to get a woman's number, she writes it down on a piece of paper for him, but he ends up losing the piece of paper. He then proceeds to walk around with his head hung and mope. It turns out a husband picks up the piece of paper, not knowing what it is, and puts it in his pocket. And then later on, his wife finds it and they get into a huge argument over it because she thinks that he's calling this woman. This whole segment got a pretty good laugh out of me. There are a few other moments that are funny like this, but due to the amount of text in the game, they're very easy just to mash the A button through and miss. And honestly, I did get to that point where I was just mashing A to get through all of the cutscenes and story that I didn't care about. Anyway, back to Harry. The biggest problem with Harry is he doesn't stop giving you tips no matter how far you are in the game. Again, when you're starting out it makes sense, but when you're near the end of the game and he's still giving you tips before every battle, it's very excessive. Another major problem this game has is you'll enter a new area, and a character, most of the time it's Harry, will say, "Go talk to everyone, and then come talk to me." The problem with this is you have to locate every NPC in the area and speak with them. You have to mash A through all of their text boxes before the game lets you continue. This is frustrating because it really hurts the flow of the game. and happens way too often. I don't mind Harry as a character, I think he has some good one-liners, but he really got the short end of the stick here. Sorry about your luck, Harry. While we're on the topic of side characters, we'll talk about Marcia too. She has this weird special ability that lets her see things, but it's not used very much in the game. There's also this big side plot about her brother. It's not very interesting, honestly, and doesn't impact the story. Marcia doesn't impact the story much at all, so we can move on. During my playthrough, it didn't take me long to realize that the music is just not that great in Custom Robo. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like a futuristic jazz or pop, maybe techno, I don't know. It just doesn't sound that great. It really feels like the music is missing something. Let's listen to a few examples. That's all I'm going to make you listen to. Again, it feels flat. It feels like it's missing something. It's rare that I really dislike a soundtrack, but the Custom Robo soundtrack really just didn't do it for me. Especially when you're comparing it to other soundtracks on the GameCube, like the Zelda games, or Super Smash Bros. Melee, or the Sonic games. The last thing I'll mention about the sound design is when the characters talk, it kind of sounds like Animal Crossing or The Sims. It's like gibberish. And that can get pretty annoying too sometimes, especially when they make these noises with every word in every text box. Graphics-wise, Custom Robo again is mediocre. The environments are pretty barren, the human characters are kind of ugly in all honesty, and a lot of them have an awkward movement or running cycle. One thing I will mention though is the robos themselves. They actually look pretty good, and the different parts you can equip are all visually different, and their colors look pretty okay. If I were to describe the graphics to someone who hasn't seen the game before, I would directly compare it to Pokemon XD or Colosseum. They both have sort of strange looking human characters. The only difference is the Pokemon games did it way better. I would also say that most GameCube games look better than Custom Robo overall. Earlier we discussed the flow of the game. Get a quest from the Steel Hearts, go beat everyone at Custom Robo battles, and then go to sleep for the night. The game is sort of set up so each day is almost a chapter, but we didn't go too much in depth other than the introduction. In my opinion, the story is very poorly implemented in Custom Robo. There's going to be spoilers for it in this section. Skip to the time on the screen if you don't want spoilers. Starting out, you're just a guy trying to become a Robo Commander. You then get a job with the Steelhearts. You team up with the police force here and there to take down some bad guys, and eventually you discover a rogue Robo. Eventually you become an S-class commander, which gives you access to top secret information. This top secret information is this rogue Robo destroyed the previously known world. The world map in Custom Robo is walled off from the rest of the world which was destroyed. Only the S-class commanders know of this, but there was no indication of this previously at all. I feel like it's just throwing in the whole save the world plot that we've seen so many times in every single game. Not every game has to be save the entire world. It also wouldn't be that bad, but the big problem is the entire delivery of every piece of story is given to you in a text box. It would have been much better if the story beats were implemented into the world for you to discover naturally, instead of mashing your way through many text boxes. The best stories in games are intertwined with what you interact with in the environment and discover on your own, and that does not exist in Custom Robo story delivery. Once I passed the halfway point, I got really tired of looking at text boxes, and it didn't help that they were making those annoying noises with every word spoken. The longer the game went on, the more text boxes I skipped. Eventually, you are tasked with the final mission. This involves your team going to the old world to track down that rogue Robo. Its name is Rahu, and the only way to defeat Rahu is with that special watch that was mentioned at the start of the game. This brings us to the final boss fight. As I mentioned before, I had lost about 4 fights in the entire rest of the game. I didn't feel like there was much of a difficulty progression. When you fought some of the bosses, they used illegal parts which were quite a bit stronger than what you had, but they never felt unbeatable simple or too challenging. But the final boss, oh man. The difficulty jump from the rest of the game to the final boss is crazy. The final boss battle is a 3v1. You, Marcia, and Harry versus Rahu. And remember, if you, the protagonist, get knocked out and your teammates are still alive, you still lose. None of the strategies or customizations that I use in the rest of the game worked here. I died about 6 or 7 times, and each time I had to go into my customization menu and try something new. While it was frustrating to lose and experience such a spike in difficulty, I noticed something. It was cool to look at the different parts that I had and find a way to counter Rahu. It made me wish that I had to do this throughout the game instead of using the same thing the whole way through. What if certain robos had resistances to certain parts? What if certain Colosseums give you a boost if you're using a certain part? What if there was incentive to use all the different parts that you acquired in the game? Realizing this on the final boss fight, I feel is a huge miss for the game. I should have been searching through my different parts to counter the bosses I was losing against before, except I never lost to them. I think this would have been very rewarding. Even if there was some sort of system where if you use a part too much it breaks and it forces you to use something else, it would give all the other customizations a reason to exist. But finally, after trying many different parts and combinations, I discovered something that worked. Oddly enough, one of my teammates, Harry, was already using this gun. The gun's name is the Sword Storm. I started up the fight and quickly realized that I was going to win just by standing there and pressing the B button. That's what I have up on the screen right now. This is me fighting the final boss and just pressing B. For some reason, Rahu didn't know how to deal with 2 Sword Storm guns, so I just beat the game by standing there. And that's the end of Custom Robo. Well, the main story anyway. As the credits roll, it's revealed that there's a first-person option for Custom Robo fighting. I find it so strange that this is hidden behind beating the game. I'm not sure how it would play, but it's kind of cool. After beating the game, you're given 2 options. Play the grand battle or play a new journey from the beginning using your new parts. I wasn't interested in playing the game again, so I tried the grand battle, and there was just so much talking at the start of it, I said, no, I've had enough Custom Robo. I looked up some information online, and the grand battle I guess is mostly just fights once it's set up. Some people may enjoy that, but after beating the game, I had enough. Custom Robo misses the mark on a few important things. The story is poorly executed, the music isn't great, and the core gameplay loop feels like it's missing something. I found myself wishing that there was different features added, like a money system, or maybe an experience point system, or something, but it just wasn't there. The Robo fights themselves were fun enough, but by the end of the game, I just wanted to finish it. If I were to give Custom Robo a score out of 10, I would give it a 4 for the reasons we discussed in this video. If I remember correctly, the DS game, Custom Robo Arena, is better in many aspects. If you are very curious and you love action games, it may be worth trying, but don't expect a well-written story or music you'll jam to when you're not playing the game. Custom Robo, I was so excited to play you, but unfortunately you did let me down. Now I can see why this game did not hold my attention when I was younger. Thank you for watching.